How to understand the Book of Revelation, a revolutionary new insight offering a fresh study approach to consider.
Narrated by Daniel.
All scripture references are KJV.
Viewers are encouraged to pause the video and search the KJV scriptures whenever necessary.
To date, we have understood and taught and expected that the seals, the trumps, and the vials, also referred to as bowls, are events to happen in sequential order or concurrently. Perhaps it is time to reconsider the matter of the seals, the trumps, and the vials. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. God is not the author of confusion, but he is the master of mystery and intrigue, as the book of Revelation can attest to. The key to understanding the book of Revelation is to realize that when John had his revelation experience, he was shown many, many visions that will not necessarily play out in the same sequence as John saw, heard, and wrote. In part 1 of How to Understand Revelation, we saw a few examples among many to highlight that the events in Revelation do not happen in chronological order. Now we are aware of this, let's consider a little further. Let's consider the seals, the trumps, and the vials. In this study, we are going to understand how the 7 seals are only visions, and that not all the visions are events. We are also going to understand that the 7 trumps only announce events that are about to happen. The 7 trumps do not cause the events that follow their sounding, whereas the 7 vials are the cause of the events that follow their outpouring. Contrary to popular teaching, the first 4 seals do not reveal events. The first 4 seals reveal spiritual entities that have existed throughout history. This will be explained further as we progress through our study. The 5th seal reveals that even the saints in heaven need to have patience, that God will soon avenge their blood. In this study, we will understand why John was shown this vision. We will also realize how the 6th seal is only a preview vision of the rapture that will happen when the 7th last trump sounds immediately after the tribulation. The rapture is then followed by the outpouring of the vials of God's wrath, while the resurrected saints are in heaven for the marriage supper of the Lamb. Then after the marriage supper, we return with Jesus to the battle of Armageddon, after which the millennial reign of Christ on earth shall begin. Now let's closely consider the word of truth concerning all these things. When considering the first 4 seals, our focus should be on the horsemen and on what they do, rather than on the colors of the horses that carry them. When Jesus opened the first seal, John was shown a vision that revealed the spirit of Antichrist, who sits upon a white horse and was given 1 crown, and who carries a bow and is identified as Gog at the Battle of Armageddon and at the Battle of Gog and Magog. When Jesus returns, he will also ride a white horse, but he has many crowns, and does not carry a bow, because his word is a sharp sword from his mouth. When Jesus opened the 2nd seal, John was shown a vision that revealed a red horse, and the horseman had power and a sword to take peace from the earth. This is the spirit of war. This is the spirit behind the vast and ever-growing industrial military complex, the result of greed and hate and envy. When Jesus opened the 3rd seal, John was shown a vision that revealed a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. This spiritual entity represents big and corrupt business. This horseman holds the power of false balance, by which the mighty oppress the poor while maintaining luxuries for themselves. When Jesus opened the fourth seal, John was shown a vision that revealed the spirit of death and the spirit realm of hell that followed with him. These have power to kill by various means over the nations of the world, which cover 1/4 of the earth. When Jesus opened the fifth seal, John was shown a vision that revealed that even the saints in heaven need to have patience that God will avenge their blood. This is told in Scripture to encourage the patience of the saints still on earth, those who will need to endure the trials and tests of the Great Tribulation. When Jesus opened the sixth seal, John was shown a preview vision of the rapture that happens at the seventh last trump of God, when the sun and the moon go dark and the stars fall from heaven, and there's a great earthquake. The sixth seal reveals only some of the events that happen at the rapture. Otherwise, there would be no mystery of the rapture being at the seventh last trump. Once it is understood that the sixth seal is a preview vision of the rapture that happens at the seventh last trump of God within the seventh seal, then so many other pieces of the end-time jigsaw begin to neatly fit into place. Once it is understood that the seven seals are not all events, but rather some seals are visions to reveal spiritual entities or give spiritual insights, then other pieces of the end-time jigsaw will begin to come together. Then it can be better understood how the seven trumps are not a part of God's wrath that comes after the Great Tribulation. The seven trumps announce events that are part of God's judgments that happen during the Great Tribulation while the saints are still on earth. At the rapture, angels gather and take us from earth's end of heaven to the far end. Then, while the saints are in heaven for the marriage supper of the Lamb, the vials of God's wrath are poured out upon earth. That's the purpose of the extra 30 days of Daniel 12:11. Those days are for the marriage supper while the vials of wrath are poured out. The sixth vial dries the river Euphrates to prepare the way for the battle of Armageddon. Then immediately after the marriage supper, Jesus and the armies of heaven mount up upon white horses to return to earth for the battle of Armageddon, to shorten those days of great trouble and to save the remnant of Israel. That's the purpose of the extra 45 days of Daniel 12:12. They're for the battle of Armageddon and the gathering of the remnant. Once again, the 30 days are for the marriage supper while the vials of wrath are poured out. Then 45 days for the battle of Armageddon and the gathering of the remnant. And even though the kingdoms of the world become Christ's at the seventh trump, and the 1,000-year day of the Lord begins at the time of the rapture, the saints don't possess the kingdom until the end of the battle of Armageddon. That is when the millennial reign of Christ on earth can begin. Let's briefly summarize Revelation Reconsidered. The first 4 seals reveal 4 spiritual entities: the Antichrist, the war machine, big and corrupt business, and death and hell. The 5th seal reveals that even the saints in heaven need to have patience that their blood will soon be avenged. This is recorded in Scripture to encourage the saints who will be on earth during the Great Tribulation. The sixth seal is a preview vision of the rapture that shall happen at the seventh last trump of God, which is revealed within the seventh seal. The sixth seal reveals only some of the events that happen at the rapture, or else there would be no mystery that the rapture happens at the seventh trump. The seventh seal reveals the seven trumpets of God that sound during the Great Tribulation. The seven trumps only announce events, they do not cause the events that follow. The seven trumps announce events that are the judgments of God, not the wrath. The seventh last trump of God announces the rapture, as well as the earthquake that follows the rapture. The seventh trump is when the mystery of God shall be finished, as declared to God's servants, the prophets. And the seventh trump is when the kingdoms of this world become Christ's. After the rapture, the saints appear in heaven for the marriage supper of the Lamb, while the vials of God's wrath are poured out for 30 days upon the earth. The sixth vial dries the river Euphrates to prepare the way for the battle of Armageddon to follow. After the marriage supper of the Lamb, Jesus and the armies of heaven mount up upon white horses to return to earth for the 45-day battle of Armageddon, to shorten those days of trouble and to save the remnant of Israel. If you would like to know more about end-time events, then please visit endtimesofficial.com. That's endtimesofficial.com. There you will find a wealth of information. Then please share the knowledge. Thank you, and God bless.